Any moment now, Nick Reiner will appear in court after being charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder for allegedly stabbing his parents to death in their Los Angeles home. Famed Hollywood director Rob Reiner and his wife, Michele, were reportedly dead for hours before their bodies were discovered by their daughter, Romy. This is Nick's first court appearance after being medically cleared. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany. Here's my co-host, Emily Campagno. Also joining us, Sandra Smith, co-anchor of America Reports, Kayleigh McGee-White, Fox News contributor, and Marcus Lemonis, American businessman and host of The Fixer on Fox Business. Well, let's start here. Surveillance video is helping investigators track his movements before and after the alleged killings. The video you see now shows Nick Reiner surrendering to police just after 9 p.m. on Sunday. Here's the Los Angeles County District Attorney on what Nick might be facing.
These charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. No decision at this point has been made with respect to the death penalty.
Now watch this. This is new video. It's surveillance video, and it shows Nick Reiner calmly walking outside a gas station. That gas station located very close to the Brentwood home in which the murders took place. This was just before midnight on Saturday. And a new report shed some light on Nick Reiner's alleged past struggles with drug addiction, with a source telling the New York Post, quote, he would do meth and not sleep for days and then have outbursts, breaking things, punching walls. He was a ticking time bomb. The source also alleged that Nick destroyed the guest house more than once and then laughed at the chaos he caused. You know, Emily, we'll hear from the defense and the prosecution at various points as this plays out. And the defense, we'll see if they try to make an insanity claim. But the prosecution, I fully expect that they will point to some of these somewhat lucid actions, calmly walking down the street, going into the convenience store, making a purchase. Did he get that hotel room before or after the murder? Was he methodical in doing so? What did the staff see? We will see these countering facts, and they'll be used by each side.
Indeed, and the success of that particular defense is sort of incumbent on successfully arguing or proving that that individual did not appreciate the nature of his actions or the consequences. And the reality is that inside the adjudicatory system, with the psychiatry of it all, there's a lot of different analyses that go on. So, for example, you just mentioned that now he's been medically cleared, so he is indeed going to the hearing. You know, that's that step one of, is he a danger to himself? Is he a danger to others? Can he appreciate the hearing? And then moving forward, it will be mental competency to stand trial, mental competency to appreciate the sentencing, the insanity defense, which would be if it indeed proceeds to trial. So there's sort of all of these different steps along the way where defense might, we expect, be arguing those things. But at the end of the day, I think if we take a step back, our conversations as a society include a lot of compassion, and rightly so, for those that are addicted, those that are on drugs and whatnot. And it's a horrific, sort of debilitating disease. But also in this society, it needs to it's ensured that there is consequences for actions, and that violence and such hate and such rage and such horrific acts are not absolved simply because someone is high. They're not absolved simply because someone has demons that were manufactured, and certainly not the result of opportunities and a loving family that person had. So we will see that play out, and we will see it against the imprint of the justice system, and eventually, potentially, a jury that will essentially say, are you just trying to pull one over on us when we see pretty clearly what happened? You nonchalantly sauntering around and join big holiday parties and the like, and then somehow your demons got a hold of you.
Sandra, I have a lot of questions about the hotel room. So it's 4 a.m. He gets this hotel room. It's the night of the party, the Conan O'Brien party, where allegedly he had some erratic behavior, some disputes there. But then they say he looks fine. He has no lacerations on the face when he checks in, but he's a little tweaked out. And then it's the staff that cleans the room later. This is all from TMZ. And they find a bloody shower. They find blood on the bed. They find drapings over the windows. So clearly a cleanup. But my question becomes, did he check into the room, go commit this, and then go back with the blood? How did the blood get there?
Hopefully there's more surveillance video. Hopefully there's more eyewitnesses. And a lot of the witnesses, when it comes to his mental capacity and what his state of mind was when he carried this crime allegedly out, will be the witnesses at the party. I truly believe at Conan O'Brien's holiday party, you know, there are conflicting reports over what the crazy questions that he was asking guests at that party, how he was behaving, whether or not his father or mother rebuked his behavior on site. There was the reports of the disputes, that there was heated arguments with their son. these details are still incredibly unclear. And was he living on the property of the parents? Did he have direct access to the home? And to go to your point, Emily, about the compassion for families who go through these challenges, especially with their own children, how difficult it is for them to navigate what one day might look like differently from one previous or the next. It's incredibly difficult for them to navigate that and to anticipate what could come, knowing they're incredibly volatile people, whether they're on drugs or having a mental breakdown or whatever it may be. How were they to expect this, obviously? But they probably and most likely have had many uncertain days, whether or not they go to bed fearing that something like this could happen. I take myself through all of those things, but for the couple to have been asleep and have this allegedly carried out at 3 o'clock in the morning, were they in a place where they felt comfortable enough to go to sleep? But the daughter, clearly, what she has said on the record so far and what we've learned there, she clearly told the police once the parents were found that he was a danger. Yeah. And she knew this. And there was obviously signs leading up to this moment.
You know, the daughter, I can't get this detail from the New York Times out of my mind, Kaylee. It's the one detail that is just really haunting to me among many. This is the daughter, Romy. She goes to the house the day after the party on Sunday afternoon. She's 28. She fled the house in anguish upon encountering her father's body inside the house. Her roommate waiting outside called 911. The person said, listen to this, Romy Reiner did not see her mother's body in the house and learned from the paramedics outside that she was dead, too, the person said.
It's horrifying. And, you know, part of the compassion that we as a system can have on families who are struggling with this is providing them with options. We know that this young man was in and out of rehab throughout his young adult life about 18 times, according to some reports. And he even admitted in an interview back in 2022 that rehab did nothing for him, that he would go into it, that he would resist it, and he would come out and he would go back to the exact same kind of behavior again. And especially if there were indications of violent behavior on his part, what were the parents supposed to do? They can't get the police involved unless a crime has been committed. And we as a society have basically removed all sorts of long-term care institutions that were meant for people struggling with mental health. We've gotten rid of those. So this is the problem, is they didn't really have many alternatives besides what they were doing. And, you know, I think about the movie that Rob Reiner made with his son, Being Charlie, that dealt exactly with this issue about a son struggling with addiction. And there's one line in that film from the father where he looks at his son and he says, "How can I help you? Tell me how to help." And you know, as a parent, that that's all they wanted to do for their son. They wanted to get him the help that he needed. But I think in this case, they just couldn't because there weren't many options available to them.
So a lot of those clips and them promoting the movie have been surfacing all across the internet. And here is one clip. And just watch. Rob Reiner has so much love and compassion for his son, Nick. This is them interacting. This is 2016.
You don't set out to have a cathartic experience or you know, this will be therapeutic in some way, but the fact that we were dealing with, you know, things that Nick had gone through and how I had related to it and how his mother had related to it, it forced me to have to see more clearly and understand more deeply what Nick had gone through. And I think it forced him to see things that I had experienced during this process. And it definitely brought us closer together.
Marcus.
Look, I think we've eloquently described that the lack of competency or competency doesn't remove accountability. But I want to really get focused on the families, millions of families in America today that are dealing with children or parents that have an addiction, that have problems, that have mental illness, and what must be going through their mind today. There's a family who's been ripped apart, and there are other families across the country who may have fear today that they may be the next ones to get ripped apart. So people are going to be paying very close attention to how the defense is going to structure this to make excuses. I hate to use that word, to make excuses or justifications for the behavior. If you have a family member who is riddled with drug addiction or who is riddled with anything like that, you understand that love makes you vulnerable. You tend to open yourselves up. And if you and I were brother and sister and I had an addiction, you would love me just the same. But you would become more vulnerable because you would be meeting me at my darkest place, at my darkest moment, and may not have the ability to see it coming. And that is what I fear happened to the Reiner family. They didn't see it coming because their love clouded their judgment.
Yeah, and their daughter's life forever changed, their brother forever changed. And it's tough in these family disputes. There might be relatives testifying against relatives.
Yeah.
It'll be hard to watch. All right.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Kane podcast for full episodes right now.